No human can control what does and does not turn them on. Every human can control whether or not they act on those lusty feelings. It's a really simple differentiation. The problem with adultery is primarily that if you cheat on your partner, if you actually act on those feelings of lust, then you're going to end up betraying your partner. We love to tell ourselves stories that they'll never find out. It doesn't really matter. You know, oh, it's just sex, you know. But the point is, once you get into betrayal, once you do get caught, the other person may well forgive you and try to forgive you, and the relationship can survive. The difficulty is the trust, that original trust, is completely gone. It will always be damaged. And remember, remember that the most important thing when it comes to, where are the good parts of these 7 deadly sins? What's the most important part? It brings us together if we don't act on those 7 urges willy-nilly, if we try to judiciously restrain ourselves and inhibit those urges. So the benefit of restraining the act of lust is that you get to have your long-term relationships last for decades and decades and decades, so that you have someone to look after you when everyone else has forgotten you exist. It gives you a sense of belonging. It improves your physical health. It improves your mental health. So that's lust part 1. Lust part 2 is about the modern scourge of ubiquitous, free, online pornography. Hands up who loves porn. Thank you. One honest man in an audience of 100. So there's nothing wrong with porn. Just like there's nothing wrong with feeling lusty, with feeling sex. It's all about what you do with those urges. It's all about how you use porn. There are lots of teenagers who, before they've even hit puberty, take out their phone, go to a URL that their mate has advised them has some really mind-boggling stuff on it, and they will see some pretty aggressive, hardcore pornography, even when they have no idea what it's all about. That's not necessarily a great prelude to going through puberty, to having a few scuffles with other adolescents, and kind of scuffles in the sort of amorous sense, and kind of finding your own way to how to kiss, how to have sexual fun, so that you're useful in bed with your partner at some point in the future. The problem is, what happens to these teenagers is that they watch it so hard that you've probably heard of the reward pathways of the brain, right? Hands up if you heard of the reward pathways of the brain. Thank you. So, the reward pathways of the brain are the ventral tegmental area here in the midbrain. These are the brain areas where anytime you drink when thirsty, eat when hungry, or have sex, the VTA lights up and it makes you feel good. Why? Because eating food, drinking water, and having sex helps to perpetuate the species. That then feeds dopaminergic neurons into the nucleus accumbens, which then sends them on to the orbitofrontal cortex, handily coloured in here in dark red. The reward pathways of the brain aren't just interested in food and drink and sex. These are also the parts of the brain that are involved in economic decisions. We value money, and they make those brain areas light up because we know that money can get us food and water and sex. So, you know, albeit through circuitous routes sometimes more directly. But those things are a proxy for intrinsically rewarding things. When it comes to porn, and you regularly, let's say on a daily basis, and for some teenagers, maybe 4 or 5 times a day, watch pornography, the reward pathways become especially entrained to favor that particular pleasurable stimulus. Because porn has so many different categories, so many different types of naked bodies doing so many different things to each other, in so many costumes, with so many tools, with so many, like sometimes not even just 2 people. There's always, when you get bored of one genre, something else to move to. Do you move to something less graphic? No, the natural proclivity is to go for something more sensational, more exciting, more essentially. It usually tends towards more violent and aggressive expressions of sexuality. So, when these kids come to have sex in real life, they can't get it up. They literally have entrained their brain to respond only to hardcore video sex, and the real thing no longer does it for them.